Good morning and welcome to the ADS Securities Markets Update. The US dollar on Friday continued to rise as a safe haven bids ahead of the weekend and ahead of the Jackson Hole meetings, which also showed no clear path for the Federal Reserve's policy in September's meeting. But for the time being, or looking at the technical side of the US dollar index, the index basically managed to close the week with a positive pattern on the weekly chart, while it regained above its trend line resistance on the daily chart and continued to rise toward the 100-day moving average, testing that moving average, which also should be watched very carefully today ahead of the end of August. On Friday also, the rally stopped at the 61.8% Fibonacci retracement from the recent decline, which also stands at the same level of the 100-day moving average, leading to another dip earlier this morning. The short-term outlook also for the time being remains bearish as long as the 96.50s remains solid. Otherwise, the outlook could be changed again to positive or to bullish in the next few days. On Friday also, the US economic releases came in with another disappointment, and especially the main focus was on the year-over-year core PCE price index, which is the Federal Reserve's favorite inflation index, which also showed slowed down toward to the lowest level since March of 2011, which kept the estimates lower for September's rate hike because we declined back toward 1.2%, while estimates were to remain stable at 1.3%. However, the US dollar also managed to remain strong on many of the Federal Reserve members' remarks that rate hike in September or also this year is still possible. And in the meantime, the coming days should be very significant as we wait for many economic releases from the US, which should also clear the path for September's meeting, especially that we wait for the August jobs report on Friday. Crude oil also continued to rise on Friday, adding another 6% of gains in West Texas crude, and also we added more than 6% in Brent crude. West Texas right now is up more than 21%, 21.59% from the latest low, and also Brent basically is up by more than 20.7%, nearing a bull market territory in both. But at the same time, the gold-oil ratio chart that we published last week worked very well as the top held and continued to decline for the past 2 days. And for the time being, we should watch this, or we should keep a close eye on this ratio in the coming week or during the week, as further declines in this ratio is likely to grant further gains. However, in oil prices, we can't rule out that oil has already bottomed, but signs of stabilization is showing up gradually. During the Asian session today, a few economic figures were released, which had a notable impact on the market from in New Zealand, Australia, and Japan. In New Zealand, we had positive and negative news at the same time. We have the building permits increasing by the most since 2012, rising by 20.4% in July. However, the ANZ, or the negative data came in from the ANZ Business Confidence Index, which declined for the third month in a row, declining by also the most since 2009. Declining by 29 or toward minus 29.1 in August, after a decline of 15.3 in September, leading the Kiwi also to decline across the board. In Japan, the industrial production came in with another disappointment as it unexpectedly declined by 0.6% in July, after rising by 1.1% in June, while estimates were to rise at least by 0.1%, and this is the biggest monthly decline in almost 2 months. The Asian equities also had another day today on concern over China, which basically remains for the time being, and this may continue also during the Asian session or also toward the US equities today. But going forward to the European session, headlines today, or the European session, economic figures will be waiting for a few economic data today, while the UK banks will be closed, but we will be watching the German retail sales, KFO Economic Barometers in Switzerland, Italian retail sales, and also the inflation figures in both the Eurozone and Italy, and these data may have a notable impact on the market, especially if they come in with some surprises. Finally, during the US session, 2 economic figures will be released today, including the Canadian current account and the Chicago PMI in the US, which also may have a notable impact on the market, especially if they come in with a notable surprise, especially the Chicago PMI, especially if it comes in with below the 50 levels. This is it for today. You can follow us on our social media sites, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube to get the latest economic releases, reports, and analysis. Thank you for watching. I'll see you once again tomorrow.